Let's be heroes. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, Season 3, Episodes 18 through 20, the final 3 episodes. And I'm getting emotional, I am. Because for those who may not, either realize or remember, it was 6 years ago that we started this journey. It was in August of 2018 that we first started Season 1. And I wish that it hadn't taken this long to finish it, because the series has been over for years. But I think, between the breaks and stuff and everything, it's almost needed to happen. Because hear me out here. So, when I first started this series, obviously in 2018, I was in a much, much different place. When I first started this, it hadn't even been a year since I came out as trans and everything yet. And I was in a vulnerable place, mentally and emotionally. And because of that, over the course of the 6 years since, I've grown, I've developed, I've come to different points in terms of my mental and emotional health. And the series almost feels like it's been growing up alongside me. Mind you, 6 years ago, I was still in my 20s. I wasn't like a kid or anything. But I was, again, in such a different place that it almost feels like I was. And I have seen this series change and grow, and yeah, it's still goofy, it's still silly, but it's also touched on a lot heavier of topics than you would expect when you first started out. It's definitely gone into mature areas, with especially this season, with the stuff with TKO and Venomous. It's become almost a different show in terms of its vibe. And it's not the only show that's done this, of course. Steven Universe did this, Star Versus did this, so many other shows. I don't know why those... Well, Steven Universe, it makes sense that they came to mind. I don't know why Star Versus was the second one. But a lot of shows do this. Owl House, Amphibia, where it's just like they grow and evolve over the course of their seasons and kind of end out in a different place than they started, in terms of their themes, their ideals, the way things are presented, etc., etc. So, I think it actually ended up being a surprise blessing to have taken so goddamn long to finish this series. All of the breaks, all of the time in between, and it's allowed me to kind of view the series in a very unique way, as I, again, have grown up with it. If I had finished this, in 2018 or 2019, I don't think that this series would be as good for me as it is. I needed to grow, I needed to evolve, I needed to become a better person in a lot of ways. And I think that's helped me appreciate a lot more about this than I did back when I first started it. So, although it's been 6 years since we started, I think that we're right on time to close this chapter of the channel out. And we're closing it out with quite an interesting, intense storyline. With KO having been locked away by TKO, who is now wreaking havoc and causing trouble with Venomous, shadowy Venomous specifically. And on top of that, like, Boxman's left, the Boxmore robots are now good guys at the plaza. It's like things are really turning on their heads. And I mean that in the best way. Because it's part of what helps this show feel like it's evolved. By literally having noteworthy changes like this. And I really feel like there's so much potential for how this is going to end. It sucks that this show was canceled, but at least this final season has felt like the creators, Ian and all of them, did the best they could with what they had. It's another situation like the Owl House. Mind you, this came first. Where it's like, yeah, they were canceled. They were given a shit show, but they were allowed to finish it, at least. And they made sure to finish it to the best degree possible. Could there have been more? Absolutely. But it just wasn't in the cards. And they put forth the best effort they could into making sure that the finale that they did have would be satisfying. And I'm more than sure it's going to be. I don't know exactly what to expect from it. I don't know how they're going to defeat TKO and Shadowy Venomous. I don't know if they're just going to have to somehow reach out to, like, KO himself. I don't know if there's going to be any more reconciliation for KO and TKO at this point. There's a lot of questions, and I'm very curious as to how they're going to be answered here. But yeah, this is going to be pretty special. I just feel it. So let's get going, and let's see how these heroes save the day. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about the gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day. We have Horizon Forbidden West every Monday and Friday. Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange Double Exposure. And Wednesdays and Sundays is Beyond Two Souls. On Saturdays, we have both Poppy Playtime and Nier Automata. And on top of that, don't forget to click the link in the description below to get to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright. You know how it is. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, let's get to today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, the episode 20 here felt needless. And I'll talk about that, but let me get to 18 and 19 first. So, 18 and 19 is a two-parter with, you know, the goal of taking down Shadowy Venomous and TKO. There's like a tournament that comes out of nowhere. Everyone's being defeated. And even Enid and Rad have to go turbo, but still manage to get defeated because of Venomous's plan to give TKO all the power of the Glorbs and whatnot. And pretty much everyone's like completely wiped out, and it almost kind of implies that they're all killed. Like, TKO and Shadow, even though Shadowy Venomous is taken out, and just returned to regular Venomous again, TKO wins. And again, it's implied kills everyone. Okay. But then it's just kind of reset by Deus Ex Machina, aka the president of the universe or whatever it was, who is. Have we seen this guy before? I don't know if we've seen this guy before. But he's like a disco talking, dancing giant dude. And he just he gives KO a wish. And KO basically wishes everyone to have their best lives and just resets everything. And with the way it ends and everything, with KO and TKO accepting themselves as one and the same, and everything that really entailed and whatnot, and, saving the plaza, saving everyone within. The finale, or the final moments of episode 19 felt like a finale. It felt like it was like, oh, this is the end of the show. But then there ended up being one more episode. And episode 20, thank you for watching the show, felt like it felt like a thank you for the fans for watching and tuning in all this time, especially in the wake of the cancellation and all. It also felt like it was trying to, like, kind of throw some shade towards the network for canceling them by bringing up all the possibilities they had with more episodes and everything. But it also felt like, how do I put this? It's not bad necessarily, because the theming and idea and everything works. Getting to see some their futures, like Gar and Carol getting married. We see other couples getting married. We see them aging and growing and everything. It's showing a lot of stuff that you would, like, probably want to see. A lot of these shows end with, like, a flash forward and everything, and it's like showing where they ended up, and it's like, yeah, well, you like to see that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the way it was handled, by, like, just rushing through everything and flashing through everything, like giving, like, maybe 2 seconds to everything, because it's like it didn't really have the time to go into depth with all of this, just because of, the show being canceled and everything. I felt it was excessively rushed in its pacing and all. And I mean, it kind of literally was. And again, I'm not blaming the crew or anything, because they did what they could do with what they had. But honestly, I just feel it should have ended with episode 19. I felt like that was a perfectly satisfying ending. Like, yeah, we didn't get all this info on what happened afterwards and all. But it's like, I don't think we necessarily needed it. Because again, it felt, episode 20 felt super rushed. It felt like it was just flashing through all this stuff just for almost fan service purposes. And it just didn't come across as natural, or you didn't have time to enjoy anything. It's like you're just like, oh, this is happening. Oh, this is happening. Oh, this is happening. It's like every time you, like, start to notice something is happening, it's already switched over to something else. And I feel like the way that they could have made it better is just have the final episode be a full flash forward, like 20 years into the future, like what we saw at the very end. Have it be the full episode, though, not just the, like, last, 20 seconds of the episode? Have it be the full episode, have it, like, with the new cast and everything, don't have them look like they're children of Enid and Rad, because Enid is with Red Action, and that just causes a lot of confusion and problems. But have them be like these new heroes working at the bodega and everything. KO's taken the role of Mr. Gar. You have Enid and Rad in their roles and everything. And you can even maybe mention some of this stuff that happened still. Like, you can have it mention that Gar and Carol got married. You can have even the other marriages and stuff mentioned and all. You could do so much. Even through background information. But it would feel more concise and, well-paced if the entire episode was just a flash forward into the future like that, instead of just 20 seconds at the end after your senses are assaulted by the constant changing of scenes and stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of those scenes were really fun, like Shannon running a talk show and whatnot, and Dendy becoming the new POW card president, and various things here and there. It's like, yeah, cool stuff. I'm good with that. But it's like, because of how it was like assaulting our senses by flashing by so fast, again, you just really didn't get time to enjoy any of it. You didn't get time to really grasp anything that was happening, and it felt like it was just an assault of the senses. It was unsatisfying as a conclusion, because they tried to do everything that they wanted to do. And again, I understand why. I understand, like, with the show being canceled and everything, that they wanted to just throw in everything as kind of like a last hurrah. But it's like, sometimes that just doesn't work. Sometimes it's just a little too much in a little too little time. And especially with stuff like Venomous, like, Venomous, is he redeemed? It's kind of unclear. He said sorry to Boxman, and it's unclear if he's actually redeemed or not, because at first he wasn't. He and Fink just went to their own planet to destroy. Then I guess he apparently came back in like these mech suits, and they fought and everything, but then he said sorry to Boxman. He's like a proud papa to Fink, watching her win video game tournaments. It's like, is he redeemed? I'm not quite sure. And that's the thing, with a lot of this just being rushed past you, you don't really get the opportunity to really grasp everything. It just feels like it's headache inducing. And it's not satisfying when you don't really know what's going on. Like, I'd probably have to watch that like 2 or 3 more times to even grasp everything that happened in it. Because it goes by so fast and so, like, aggressively. I feel like it could have been done better. I don't think it was like a bad idea. I just don't think it works within the short time frame they had. For like an 11-minute episode, it's like, you really don't have the time to do something like this. Especially with as much as they were trying to force in there. It might have been able to work with a full 22-minute episode. But even then, it's like they still probably would have had to cut down on some things, I feel, to really make it work. Like, let's compare it to other finales of canceled shows like The Owl House. The Owl House had that third season that was like cut into just a few episodes, and they were double length episodes, but still, the team did the absolute best they could with it and actually made it a super satisfying ending that closed out the big storylines happening. And while we didn't get answers for everything, still managed to leave us on a note that we could appreciate. Still managed to make it work. But the problem here is they just didn't have, I feel, enough of a runtime with this last episode to make this kind of idea make sense. Again, there was just way too much happening with way too little time. And I think also the entire like idea of like KO being aware that things are kind of flashing by and all, and trying to explain that by just, oh, you're growing up, things seem to be moving faster and everything. It's like that's not an explanation for what's going on there. That's clearly not. Um but it's like I don't think that was necessary. That entire like part at the beginning of with KO trying to figure everything out and trying to figure out why it seemed like everything was just flashing by. Again, I think this should have just been a flash forward episode and had nothing building into it. I think it should have just started the episode with like new characters, the new generation at the bodega, and just didn't explain it. And then again, you see things through the background or maybe through some little dialogue mentioning, oh, Gar and Carol got married. Enid's been training as a witch. Rad served as a military leader for Planet X, but now runs a cat cafe. You could easily do all of this in an 11-minute runtime. But there was also, let's be honest, there were things in those flashes of events that we saw for super minor characters that, let's be honest, it wasn't necessary to give us like information on what they were doing. So it's like everything that we needed to know or would have wanted to know from all of that could have been done if this was just a flash forward. I don't like how the final episode was executed. 18 and 19 were great, and like I said, if the series just ended on episode 19, I think it would have been better. But episode 20, just too much, too little time, didn't work with the execution. It kind of sucks to go off on a negative there, but I mean, I'm just going to share what I genuinely think. I'm not going to lie to you all. I'm going to tell you my real thoughts regarding anything I react to. So also, it also kind of really sucks with the series being canceled because let's be honest, Shadowy Venomous and TKO were not the most threatening villains in this. They're the final villains of the series. But let's be honest, Cosma is like a million times more threatening. Like, she is absolutely, exceptionally more powerful than Shadowy Venomous and TKO put together. She would wipe the floor with them. But, like, between that episode we got with her that just, let's be honest, kind of nerfed the shit out of her. But between that and then, like, having her thing at the end just relegated to a little gag back referencing that episode, it's just like, she really got the short end of the stick here when she could have been a great final villain. But I understand why they had it be TKO and Shadowy Venomous. I get that for the narrative purpose. I just think in terms of power and everything, it doesn't make any sense. And I feel like she's just one character who, because of this series being canceled when it was, honestly got shafted. I think that if this wasn't canceled, she would have been one of the characters who got a lot more chance to shine and be shown for, excuse me, being as powerful as she really is. So yeah, it's just, I know it's not entirely Ian and the team's fault, but I'm left disappointed by the final episode. Um, that being said, that being said, we need something to replace this on Wednesdays for our slot alongside Dan to Dan now. And so I've been thinking, because this is a Connie's Choice series. This is something that I just choose to react to. Um, so the question is, do I want to do another one of those? Do I want to bring in some other kind of series, like a first impression or something? And I've been thinking about this leading up to this week, as to what we were going to do in that regard. And I've decided that I'm going to keep it to Connie's Choice, and I'm gonna for now, for this next show to fill in the slot, I'm going to give a second chance to a show. I want to give a certain series a second chance, because the reason I ended up dropping it the first time was, I wouldn't say a bad reason necessarily, but just not like, I feel like I was judging it based on some very minor things. And I think it's something that the positives of it could start to really outweigh the negatives as it goes along. It's been a couple years since we reacted to it, which is wild to me. I just found that out the other day. And I'm like, excuse me? I thought I reacted to that like last year, maybe. But no, it's been like since 2022, I think. Let me check real quick. And yes, I'm purposefully not saying what it is yet, obviously. Yeah, I think when I looked it up, it was 2022. Oh no, it was 2021. Even worse. Where the fuck is time going? Jesus, maybe this OKKO finale had more to say than I realized. This was 3 years ago. It was 2021 I reacted to it. Again, it feels like it was just last year. I really don't understand how it was 3 years ago. But yeah, I dropped it. I think mostly, if I'm remembering right, it was mostly because of like one character. Like one character really like bothered me or something, and it's like there was some like plot elements surrounding that character that bothered me, and I think I kind of like focused so heavily on that at the time that it kind of made me not want to continue. But I feel like it's a show that deserves a second chance, especially because of how insanely influential it is. And that is Revolutionary Girl Utena. We will be giving Utena a second chance starting right away next week. We're going to continue right from where we left off. I will have to look things up to remember where we left off. But that shouldn't be too hard. I'll just look up plot synopsises for the episodes. But yeah, I'm going to give that another chance and see how it goes. If I end up not liking it again, or if I end up wanting to drop it again, then it's probably going to be a lost cause. We're probably not going to give it a third chance. But I'm willing to at least try. And hell, maybe it'll be like a lot of these shows that I've dropped and then picked up again, and it's like, oh, it just starts to get really good after that point. like Owl House and Amphibia, where it's like, oh, I picked this back up after having dropped it, and suddenly it starts getting really freaking good out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, if I had only waited one more episode. Honestly, I hope it's something like that. I hope that ends up happening. Um, but we shall see. So that's going to continue right away next week, like I said, with Dan to Dan for Wednesdays. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. But for the time being, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this final episode, or these final 3 episodes of OKKO Let's Be Heroes? And what did you think of the final episode specifically? Let me know down below, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.